Vintage television channel, which is going to become that name. So it's been a couple of weeks since we ended the filming in the dark because we ran out of light, but you know, let's go and have a look at the vehicle, and to be honest, the work has now only just begun. Alright, if I'm brutally honest, I'm going to sort of guesstimate this. She looks to be about 7mm. Right. These are closed up, these gaps, real nice. This one is a bit odd. I got a suspicion this one takes a bolt plate, but I don't know. That one's real nice. That one's real nice. This one's really nice. And that one's quite nice, but I mean, this has had a lot of damage. So these are a bit high. It's a bit weird. I mean, if I'm honest, that really wants to come down a little bit more. Okay, let's see if we can get it down a bit more. Yeah, it's turning down more, isn't it now? But we want to make sure that this, I mean, because that's good looking. I don't know, this is quite close down as well, isn't it? Anyway, this gap here is only about 4mm. You know, so this gap here is definitely less than the gap we've got here by a couple of millimeters. Now, there's a wing stay, you know, there's a stay to go on, but it's not going to move this capping. The capping is a little bit bent. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's had some impacts here. I don't know what's happened there. It looks serious. Looks like someone no, that's a supposition. The important thing is that it's straight along the mounting angle. So I've got 3 fingers going under. They're not going under there. They're kind of going under there, and they're going under there. But this piece is not important. If we can get it bolted in that position, I think the tub is warped. I think it will unwarp. The head warped back to 10. But I haven't got the bolts for the back because this never came with the bolts at the back because these tabs were missing. So I've actually got to go and buy the tabs. Buy the bolts. But of course there's 16 bolts. We've used up 8 in the front, 8 in the back. There's a bolt plate, and I think it's here. Hence it's oval. But you know, I don't know. I've never fitted one before. So, you know, to be honest, that's as flush as I can get it. I mean, to me that looks pretty flush, you know. Well, like times previously, I'm on the wheelie bin again. And what I've got here is mud shield. It needed a little bit of fettling to get it the same size, same shape. So it's a bit ugly there. At the top here, I've got spire nuts already fitted into the wing, and so it just takes these special screw bolts, and lower down I've got the ubiquitous 1/4" UNF by 5/8 or 3/4 possibly, or 7/8 or something, and the penny washers to go in the toe box. And then the steering box will go. Anyway, let's go and start fitting this. The mud shield. So up the top, 3 spires. Now you could have used nuts and bolts up there. I think mine was a spire nut type, so I put spires in. This mud shield was not here when I got the truck, so this is the first mud shield I've known with it. And we just line up those. It takes a little bit of jiggling. Like I say, I had to fettle it up that corner. So I'll put the nuts. I've got nuts and washers and bolts for this lower part, and we'll fit that next. Incidentally, I did paint the mud shield silver. So next on the agenda will be the steering box. And this is the one that I found in the back of the tub. So I may as well put that. Obviously repainted it black. had a little bit of a repair here and there. Right, back on the Tob. Now today I'm going to remove a couple of these fixings for the starting handle and the Shelly pump handle, jack handle, you know, that sort of thing. Tools. Now what I've realised, of course, we're going to have to paint it down here, and might be hard to get back of the petrol tank, or fuel tank in this case. Might have to get back of the fuel tank. I'll have to brush paint it there. Anyway, it needs a heck of a clean and a prep, so we're going to brush paint that underneath. I was hoping now to spray paint it at the back here. So what we're going to do is got the drill. We're going to just drill out these pop rivets, and I'm going to try and remember where they go. These are just pop rivets. But here we are looking at the pop rivets. This one, these two, and then there's some more over here. So if we do 5, we should take all those fixings off. I'm giving the bonnet catch a little refurb because we're getting ready to fit the bonnet, you know, just to keep the worst of the weather off of the brakes and steering there, and the clutch, master cylinder. So just to keep the worst of the winter weather off it, we'll chuck the bonnet up on here. That brings us back to square one. Right, there is the bonnet. It's got a dent and a scratch. Oops, I just walked into a tree. So the masked off bits, just your galv. Oh blimey, I masked that up deep, didn't I? Totally masked it. And I promised myself I'd give those a quick lacquer or a bit of wax or something. Yeah, so the old hinges, you know, and these other bits are the Tudor screen washers. Oh well, there you go then. Well, I think they're the Tudor screen washers, they might not actually be Tudor. So, you know, again, it's not the finest of paint jobs. That you can see loads of different layers in there. Oh dear, but it's got a dent, look, you know. So I fitted the bonnet. The paint went flat on me because I did it last thing yesterday evening and the humidity and temperature had got to it. Then I tried to clean my greasy fingerprints off and smeared it with me brake cleaner. So compared to the nice shiny front panel, which of course is steel, so it comes up slightly different. Oh well. Now we fitted the bonnet catch and the bonnet there, but it's very dicky, the catch, because we've still got to close up this gap and set this so it's not, you know, tighten up these, get the whole thing is a homogeneous, put the bumper on, line up the valence, line these up, line this up, then this will work properly when we've fettled it, you know. But at the moment it's a little bit temperamental. So I left these like galv. In there is the bumper, I always say that, it's a buffer, the bonnet buffer. Let's have a look at the other bonnet buffer. Zoom in on the bonnet buffer. So my bonnet buffers are quite good, quite comfortable in there. Let's have a look from the other side. Hopefully that bonnet will polish up, because, you know, it was a fair paint job. I did nick it actually, putting it in there. Alright, so these are galv. I'm not sure whether they should be galv or painted, so I left them. I thought if they're galv, don't paint them, you know. Kind of match this. Anyway, that's enough of that. So when I first got this Land Rover, I think I made a video from here, and we was looking at these tabs that were missing and the crossmember being in the wrong place. Well, now I would say it's in the right place. You know, maybe maybe at worst it sticks out a bit too much, but I'm not going to go down that path because there is a ripple along here, and it's always going to stick out a little bit because the tabs are welded to the outside of it. Anyway, so now we've put the mounting angle in. We've got a new cross member that's fitted. I mean, I'm really quite pleased with this. If there's any trouble, it's totally minimal, and the damage is covered up by these tabs. I mean, that's how come there's damage there anyway, because of the metal contact. I mean, it would have been a good idea to paint it, you know, like in a workshop or something, the whole rear tub, the whole tub, but I can't actually work on the tub anyway. It's got to be done where it's at. It's got to be done in situ, because, you know, lugging this thing around, it's a long wheelbase tub, it's not very easy to lug it around. Anyway, this end piece is not even fitted. It's got drive screw holes. It's only on there sort of temporary. It's bent up. It's got a big smile, so we've got to do something about that. But, you know, like I say, the end cap here isn't screwed in at all. I haven't even got a fixing, so I've got to go find some. The main mission, so to speak, was basically to get the rear cross member in the right place and the mounting angle replaced, which is what we've done. So I'm really happy about that. I've taken out the seal for the tailgate, so put that in when the back parts are repainted. And here is some damage, you know. So this tub it's probably got a bit of a warp in it anyway. I mean, it's not to notice it. I mean, you're going to need a micrometer. Okay, it's millimeters, you know, less than 2, which I'm happy with that, because I mean, the damage in this tub and what it was like when I started, you know, we'll take this all day long. We said at the time, I said that it was like the worst part of this whole project would be, you know, getting this thing to get together, and it's a little bit of a bugger. You can't get your fingers in there, but you can get them in there. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy. We'll have a look at a video of what it was like. There is a clear gap from the rear cross member to the back of the tub. These should go up a bit. But if it is a rear cross member replacement, I do believe that it's been put too close. It should be, there's sort of inch of material missing. It's been put on, the chassis rails have been cut too short. Or anyway, so that's that. This is probably the worst problem of the whole Land Rover project. So, main problem with the bed here is the tread plates are missing. Also, there could be some bends going on here. It could be bent up, so it might need clamping. Right, we got these tub stays. Would be a good idea to clean the tub stays, wire wheel them. Might even give them a flick of silver paint. And they've got to be fitted before we forget. So little detail of these clips, which were quite hard to find, I must admit. These 2 wing clips, and also I've used the same ones underneath the front panel. There's 2 of those. Now what they do is, there's a harness, part of the harness that comes through here, through this grommet, and you have to feed it under here. And if you don't have those clips there, you get wires hanging behind in front of the radiator, which, you know, some people don't mind that, but if, you know, I'm here doing it this level, may as well do it properly, you know. So what I've got really is a couple of holes in the wing which line up with the mud shield. Now I think the mud shield doesn't have those because not all Land Rovers have those holes in the wing, but I'll drill those in and put those in there for the sake of just filling those holes up on the wing. So I've still got a few finishing bits to do. We're showing a bit of rust under there, so I want to touch that up a little bit. Now there's a G-clamp there of a piece of wood. Now underneath that is the first of the battery tray rubber mounts. You already know I put my wing clips, replacement wing clips are in, waiting for the harness there. Really should have put the battery tray and air filter holder on earlier. I've put the rubber strips on, we've got the clips there. So there's 4 of these little 1/4" UNF by 5/8 in various places. That one was a bit awkward. I think that is a horn mount. You could put a horn there where it's stressed out the inner thing there, probably because it didn't have a washer. But that on the end there is known as a horn mount. So I painted the rear mounting angle. It's got to put this end cap on, which screws into these holes here. But before that goes on, probably got to put the seal in and paint this. I'm thinking of painting it, but I might brush paint this and spray the back. So there's plenty to be looking at. There's a couple of little screw BAs that hold in a rubber guard here. Take you over to the other side. It's the same deal. I've got some damage here. I'm going to rivet an aluminium plate over that damage and we'll paint this end. I've got an unknown hole here. I've got to make a choice of lights. So I managed to put a lick of paint along the side of the tub here, which is quite nice. I've still got to put the rope ties back on, which need to be painted. It's gone very matte, obviously. We've got to finish the filler gear. Now the filler gear won't be able to go on until I've painted the inside here, because the reason we removed the filler gear is so that we can get a good paint job in here. With the tank on, can't really paint the back of it very well, but I've made a start painting it over there where the worst of the aluminium oxide corrosion was. So now we're going along. I'll spray this back bit when the weather improves, because we're in the middle of December at the moment. Well, coming to the end of December, so hopefully we'll get some clear days with still wind. Take her over to the bulkhead. Now we've got to drill holes for the weather seal. At one point when we get the weather seal, yeah, just forgot about the wind. The wind. Right, need a wing mirror. Again, need to make a choice on these. Gonna have to think about number plates and things. Now let's have a look under here. There's the battery tray with the new rubbers, but that would have been accounted for already. So I won't be putting any of the wiring harness in until it's all painted up on the tub end of things. Because of the overspray factor, it could be a problem. It's going to need buckets at one point. Yeah, so we'll paint this inside bit, and then we can concentrate on putting the gearbox in, and then we can concentrate on putting the door sill in. You know, so there's plenty to be going on in this episode. Really, we've got to really put a lick of paint down the side here. It's obviously weather permitting on that one. Weather permitting. In the end, I actually opted for a brush finish here. So the number plate goes here, and the light goes here for the illumination of the number plate, and the rest of it, I just figured that brush paint is just going to be, you know, we've got to keep this project moving really. Now I've got some aluminium in the post to make an aluminium blank that goes over there, and then I've restored the Land Rover badge. It's quite good. I'm going to have to put a plug in this hole. This has been bent out. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be in a bit. That's not original, because let's have a look at the other one. I'm pretty sure that's what they're supposed to look like, but this one might have been bent in, so I've got a dilemma there. This one's bent or the other one's bent, and because I don't know which, I'm just going to leave it. I suppose it would be easy just to have a look on eBay for a good one for sale, but I'd never know. Okay, here's that rear badge, and what I did was I just fingered some grease over the lettering and round the edge, and then I just sprayed it with the black chassis paint and let that dry, and then just go over it quickly with first a cloth. Just don't rub any grease into your sort of chassis paint, which one might have just hit it once or twice, but you know, that's come up quite good really. Considering what it was like, blotchy and not very attractive, you know, that's looking quite good really. That's how I want it to look. A late afternoon winter delivery of door tops. Well, let's have a quick sort of overview of the door tops, because, you know, I'm still thinking it probably would have been better to buy brand new ones rather than these old second-hand ones. Plus side, all the glass is here. And it's old glass as well. It's a little bit worn, the glass. Right, the first thing, this UNF dowel bolt thing has been cut off, okay? And so we've got to figure out a way of getting a new one of these, because I don't think that is that part. I think that's screwed. Now, the actual runner along here is rusted out in places. So first thing I think we're going to do is remove all the glass. We're going to need bits and pieces. We need to be able to identify the bits. You know, identify the parts, like this rear part of this trim at the back here, because it's made of two components, I think. So, and then we'll get replacements for those. Now, they're not complete in that we will need these for the lock, for the window lock. And the fixings, they look like long rivets, but we'll have to take the glass out before we do anything. So here we are with the first door top. This is the right hand side door top. And well, the first thing I've noticed, you've got your Tyneside toughened glass, and I'm not sure of the year, but you know, these are really good. Okay, that's a really good brand. They make everything from bus and train glass to bulletproof windows. Now on this one, the right hand side one, we've got the proper length of stud. Okay, I'll go and have a look at the parts catalogue in a minute. First thing we've got to do is remove this glass. We've got to remove this glass so we can do any weld repairs and any trim bits that need to be taken care of. Okay, it's a few minutes down the line. We've got another screw out, which means that there was two screws holding this little guy in. And to be honest, it looks like, yeah, well, that is salvageable. Okay, even though it's got some overspray on it. It goes in there like that. That's just your pretty picture part of the trim, your embellishment. This is the actual rail, and we knew we needed a new rail, and we can put that on the shopping list, and that's got to go in the dustbin, I'm afraid, straight away, because I think it's probably diseased. Okay, a few minutes later is a number 3 screw. Now that came from here, and we think there's probably another one up the end here, and that'll be this top channel. And I'm hoping that I can actually save this top channel with a little bit of TLC, and with just a little bit of TLC hopefully. Don't know what I'm going to do about these just yet. These look like long rivets. Hopefully when we've got the glass out we can manhandle this thing a little bit. Another 20 minutes. There are 4 across the top. One here, one here, one here, and one at the end. So around the lock there are 2. You have to be able to get the glass right up to the end to get to this one, really. And there is problem in the bottom channel where someone's already removed one of these liners. Anyway, this should be ready just to really, if we, one-handed now, if I can move the glass back. Okay, now I've got it into sort of central position. Now this is how we're going to have to put it back together again. Bear in mind, when we put it back together, the bottom run will already be in. And then I think basically we just lift this out like this. Do you see that? So you put it back in with in the channel. So you put the channel back in. You'd slide that in the lower channel, and then you'd bring this down. So I've removed the vestiges of the putty that went from about here. Let's zoom out. It's about a third of the way down from the glass, this black putty sealant. And now what I'm going to do is remove these 1, 2, 3 on this metal strip here, and then I'll start the video again, because I think that's going to pull the glass out, but it's going to be puttied in, so we're going to have to ease it out with 2 hands. Don't want to drop it, you know. But you know, actually just another quick look, because earlier I was a bit despondent about these, but all the metal is good. It's surface rust there, I'm telling you. That's all right along there. Now if I lift it up with the glass in, let's go and have a look down this channel. That's the vestige of the old fabric channel. That's not destruction on the part of the actual door frame, but you know, there is some down there, because you can, well, there is, you have to trust me on that. It's dented. It's going to be quite a tricky repair. So I heated up the spatula there, the wallpaper scraper, with boiling water, so it's nice and hot, and then flipping over. That's the weight of the glass now pushing itself down, and you can hear the sound of it hitting pieces of rust as it drops away. Using WD-40 and a hot scraper, went all the way around the edge of the glass there, and it went through the old sealant. Don't know what I'm going to do about replacing that sealant, because that was real good sealant, you know. That kind of black sealant. It's probably going to be more expensive to do these things up, you know, knowing that you've got to buy replacement sealant and stuff like that. You know, than just getting a pair of new glazed door tops. Anyway, there we are. It's too late now. Okay, here we are next day with these door tops, and all the glass has been removed. So that leaves me just to remove the vestiges of the old bottom rail. That's on both of these. The vestiges of the bottom rail is quite hard to remove now. The screws are snapped off in there. Okay, now let me just go over this. There are 3 main aspects of difficulty with this repair. The first aspect of difficulty is the fact that the dowels here, they're not actually apart. So I'm going to actually have to weld fresh bolts in, and we're going to have to find bolts with, you know, decent shank shaft length. In other words, not threaded along the whole of the thing, because we want it to look quite original. Okay, that's the first aspect. The second aspect, of course, is that Bostik Prestic is quite hard to find, and it might be quite expensive to actually lay the solid piece of glass, the non-sliding sheet of glass, in some Prestic, which I can't find. The next aspect which is difficult is the door locker, because these rivets have been cut off. So we're going to have to screw them in, and I'm not sure that's going to be a good enough fit. Okay, screwing in the window lock is not necessarily going to be a good fit. Okay, so then we have to do the repairs, obviously. Now the repairs, there's a dent there, and the bottom sill needs to be welded in. So can my welder do that? Got an idea of how to do that one, you know. So it's basically the same repair for both of them. Each one needs a new dowel plus a repair, although the other one there is dented as well. So we have to remove the old channel, repair underneath it, replace that channel, refit the glass, and find a way to securely hold the window lock. Now it might mean, you know, the window lock's probably going to be the hardest part. You know, on the plus side, these door tops are actually half aluminium skinned. They're aluminium skinned, which, you know, that's quite good, isn't it? And there's only a little bit of rust. Hopefully my big MIG, you know, my big old flux core ain't going to blow these things away. Another few days on the door tops. So now let's have a look. We've got the rear channel is totally clear, with no broken studs or anything like that. Let's have a look at the other one. Again, some of the holes are slightly enlarged, which is a bit disappointing. That's what's left of the press stick. So right now we're ready to go on to stage 2 of repairing these, which is addressing the main holes. So this needs to be nice and flat along there. There's some shimming that we can adjust the glass with some shimming, but it needs to be basically very flat along there, no bubbles of weld in the way. Okay. One of the most annoying aspects at the moment is the transmission brake, and repairing the transmission brake basically with a new joint washer and a new seal or what have you, and new shoes for the transmission brake. We'll have to paint that sump and put the drive housing back on. We're going to put the drive housing back on before we fit the gearbox, but I might do the transmission brake with the gearbox fitted in the truck. That might actually be easier. Then of course we've got to put the various levers back on. The red lever, the yellow lever, and the gear lever. There's plenty to be doing on the gearbox, but first we've really got to finish cleaning it. Let's have a look at the front of the gear. Okay, the radiator, we should really fit that in the radiator grille panel, the front panel, with the 13 fixings. So one of the last vestiges of dirtiness is to clean the inside of the gearbox bell housing. I want that to look nice and clean. I want to inspect the spring for the return bearing. So I managed to rivet my tie downs back on all the way along. So the dent, I've pop riveted a little patch over. It's 1.2mm aluminium. Now, the Land Rover badge goes here. So that patch is looking pretty bad. I'm going to put a reversing light on there, and I'm probably going to drill a massive hole in that patch to mount the reversing light. So I'm just going to give that a little bit of extra strength actually. You know, so we'll put the indicator here, the stop lamp there. I'm going to find some way to close that off. So like I say, I brush painted the end there. We've got some touch-ups to perform. We've got to get new turnbuckles that side. We've got to put the end cap, the end plate, I think it's called a kick plate or something, along the back strip. Really could do with some new tread plates. Gonna need a new reverse registration plate illumination light. Gonna need a new registration plate. Gonna have to put the indicator here. Stop light there. Could do with a new anti-loose. This one's bent and rusty. So again, put the tie downs on. Okay, and we've got to put the tub stay. We took the tub stays off to get it on easy. We've got to put those back on. There's one there, and I think there's one up here for the sill. It's along here somewhere. I can't remember exactly where that is. We'll find out when we go to repair it. So I've put the striker plate back on and the support bracket on this side. And here is the sill hanger, sill rail. Still a mountain of work to do. Oh yeah, we've got to put the gearbox in soon. We've got to put the gearbox in. Let's go and have a look at the gearbox. Hey, the gearbox is under here. Oh, there's the transfer case sump, and we want to paint that black. The forward control house, the forward shift control housing is off. And that's why you can't see it there, because we're cleaning around the inside. Still got some cleaning to do. There's still plenty of dirt on this thing. Plenty of dirt, plenty of painting. So, yeah, when it's dry and nice, we'll get on with that. Gearbox coming up nice and buff, isn't it? Anyway, so right here, getting ready to put the front drive housing on, and obviously we can't do it in this position, so we're going to have to rotate the gearbox round again. Probably find some more dirt when we rotate it round. There's still some dirt within the bell housing, and at this angle found out, you know, if you don't put the transmission brake on at this angle, you're a fool. You know, it's only going to add 10 kilos to the weight. And, you know, it's only about 10 kilos, not more than 25 pounds. So I want to paint that old sump there, that transmission transfer box sump. That'll be nice painted up. That'll probably be the only painting that I do on this, because whilst it would be nice to paint that and that and that, not so much that. I'm just going to leave it authentic. We painted the mounts go here. We need a grommet for the speedo. I think there's one round the front as well, can't quite remember, I'll have to trace that round. Also, we want to put that radiator needs to go join up to the front grille panel sooner rather than later. Okay, so what I've done is I've put the dog on. Now, I haven't put it on all the way in. It tucks in all the way, and I'm able to put this where it was. I haven't adjusted any of these, so That goes in there, these point up. Now we're ready, should be ready to put the case on if I want to put the gasket over the whole thing. But I'm just going to make sure it's all home first. I've got to grease both sides of the joint washer. Could put the joint washer on before we put the dog on, so I might have to take it all off anyway. So what we're looking at here is what's left of my donor carburettor. This is a PA105A from 1966. Now, where the top screws onto this carburettor, it's got a split. Now I'm not sure, let's zoom in on that split. And there's some fatigue there. I'm not sure that that would be enough to stop this carburettor working, but what I've done, let's go and have a look what I've done by looking at the other one. I've taken the union bolt, the gauze and the banjo bolt off it. I've taken that little tab. I've taken the top of the carburettor off it. Now what I couldn't take, the elbow and the little spacer there. However, oh, and those screws with the spacer. This is the elbow off the PA140. Has shorter screws and it doesn't have a spacer. The elbow might actually be the same, but I don't know. So they're the parts I've taken from the donor carburettor, the damaged one. And this is a PA106, of course, this one. That's why there's some different parts. So this needs an accelerator pump. Now apparently, let's go back and have a look at this is the donor carb, the one with the damage there underneath. I don't know whether it would actually work. It'd be interesting to see whether this carburettor would still work. Here's the accelerator pump. Now apparently they're not interchangeable. The PA105A uses a different accelerator pump to the PA106, which is annoying, really. Now the float, I don't know whether we can use the float. It's got the number. I mean, I've got a float. It says 57. Let's zoom in on that so I can read it properly. 5785. 51785. Now then, let's have a look at my original. Oh yeah. 51785. Well, to be honest, I've cleaned it up now, so I'm going to use that one. I use the original one. So that is a spare float, but you know, floats. Yeah, so it's a shame really. The choke tubes are different. I've seen the number, but it reminds me I've actually got to put the float back in there, so I couldn't really do it up. But there we are, that's progress. Right, let's go down here. So what we've done is grafted on a new bolt. So we've got plenty of thread down there. Okay, we've grafted on a new bolt. It's the same length as the one up there. So what we'll have to do is paint that. And obviously we've got to get this channel cleared. Okay, the graft was about here. It's not a straight across. It's a sort of, it's more than one angle involved. Now I could put an extra piece of weld in there because it's still not 100%. But anyway, so there's the new thread. It's been grafted on. Now the really tricky bit of this repair now is maybe we have to fold this up. Okay, very carefully fold this up and put in a new bottom piece. So if we put in a right angle, here, you know, there's some damage down there where my little finger is. Let's zoom in on that. It's actually interior damage there. Sorry about that. Yeah, well, you know, there's some interior damage there. So anyway, there's a lot to think about on that. We could fold this tab up. Don't want to make a habit of folding that tab up. It is aluminium. We'll probably snap it off. But if we could just get under there, have a look how bad the damage is. Might be able to, if we cut this out completely, where it's dented, cut it out, weld it in from the top. You know, just cut that whole piece across there, chuck it out, put in a whole new bottom piece from the back. We won't have to fold that back then, because you'll be coming in from the top. Anyway, there's loads to think about this. Alright, a few more hours on the door tops. So this is the driver door top. Okay, and from the bottom we got a pinhole of rust there, a pinhole of rust there, which is needing treatment now. Okay, so from the bottom we've welded that one in. Now I've welded that one in. It's not a very straight piece of metal. That was the problem with that. I think that form is supposed to be there for drainage, you know, because I don't know, it just seems to be, that seems to be correct. Well, up here I've done mine now. I haven't been able to get a grinding wheel in here at all. I've left a little corner up there for drainage, which kind of matches. Now bear in mind, this is where the fixed pane of glass, well, it actually fits against this edge. So we'll probably put a blob of sealant of some description in there. Okay, there's a slight deflection there. Where are we? There's a slight bulge there. Now bear in mind this one. I think this one is a sort of later repro. It seems to be made slightly differently, and it's actually slightly different size. I hope it's not a Series 3 one, but if you put them together here at the end, whilst they're the same there, and there they don't match up, which is a bit of a worry. Okay, let's have a look at the other one. That was the driver one. This is the passenger one. So basically that's as done as it's going to be, really. Put a little thing in there. Let's have a look underneath. Yeah, it's not the prettiest. That's all I've got to say. It's not the prettiest. Of course, you don't see that because it's got a rubber seal over it, and it goes face down. So what we have to do is put grinding something down there to grind it. Maybe a Dremel. Oh yeah, I was thinking I might just put a line of weld down there. Yeah, I don't know. So I've got to get a Dremel. Dear oh dear, blew my last Dremel up on this job. It's a Dremel eater. Alright, I've been cleaning the back. This also got covered in the undersill, and strangely enough it actually was it's being undersealed on the inside of the anchor plate for the transmission brake. So with these return springs, at the moment this is in the closed position, and you can by hand just open these out. Don't need a screwdriver to open them out. I'm not going to do it because it's so dirty, but you can just pull it out of the rear one, for example, and just lift it over these little cylinder things. They're not proper cylinders, I don't think. They don't have any fluid in them. Spring cylinders, really. And we'll strip the shoes off this. It needs new shoes anyway because they've had oil and trouble. Started to lift a bit. Yeah, so there we are. I've just lifted those shoes over, and they're well and truly sticky. Should come out of there now. And for this now, it's going to need a good clean and a paint job. I don't know whether that's supposed to have a dust cap. The one up there's got a dust cap. That ain't had one. Well, it might not move, it might not need a dust cap. Okay, so here we have the cam adjuster end, which went there on the anchor plate. For the There might be something on the back, it's just so dirty I can't really see what I'm doing. Perhaps I should go read the instructions. Well, here we are looking at a diagram, and it's virtually impossible to see because I'm wobbling around all the time. Maybe if we use a pointer we might be able to get in there. No. Well, anyway, there's 3 components to the back of the expander unit. You'll notice that we haven't got an expander unit dust cover, so let's go and have a look at our machine without the dust cover. Pity this isn't in focus. Well, anyway, so there's the dust cover. Here are the fixings. There's the hole in the anchor plate for the transmission brake. This is the piece we want to remove. So it looks like we've got to unclip it from the back. Alright, once again it's getting a bit dark. So here we are. There's no dust cover at the back, so it's looking pretty mucky. Luckily this camera does make some compensation. So I think if we stick a screwdriver in there, we might be able to get it apart. It looks like we might need some new parts for this. But if we had that rubber cover, you know, that might have saved this. Yeah, so a couple of screwdrivers lifting it up. There's this sort of thumb-shaped push lever that started to come across. That's what I expected. Okay, it's not thumb-shaped. It's going. That's the thing I thought was thumb-shaped, but this is going over it by quite some way. See, that ends there. That's the bottom of that's the anchor plate, and it's got this sort of curved shape. So okay, that flicked over there. It's quite a thin little gadget. Well, what I'll do is put it in the parts dish. Okay, so maybe if we pull one the other way now. Don't want all steel balls and plungers to go flying all over the place. So I'll fiddle with that a little more. Right, the original thumb shaped bit, which had the piece on top of it, I've loosened it with a screwdriver somehow and managed to push it forwards. So that came off, sort of. It's pitch dark here. Okay, so that came off. And what, according to the diagram, was still on there is this piece, which is the same as the first piece that came off. And that was the bit I was trying to move. Oh, great, it's still stuck on there. It's going to be fun putting this together. So that was the first bit. It's got tangs pointing upwards. That means anything, I wonder. So that was on the bottom like that, with the tangs pointing up. Now we should be able to lift the anchor plate straight off. Thank goodness for that. Alright, we can go give that a clean and a paint. And then we're going to have to, this is the expander. Now I don't want to pull it up by the plunger because we could lose parts. Okay, so we'll put that in there to soak. It's dark, we're going to have to call it a day. But at least we can take this away and clean it, and it will be a lot less troublesome to handle. Alright, there's that other turn anti-loose. It's fixed up, isn't it? Started to paint strip this. Doesn't really show. Right, late night look at the carburettor. There's a screw missing. Now this area is known as the starter body, and under there should be a ball bearing. We don't think the ball bearing is there. Now you've got a screw here, a screw there, a screw there, and there's one missing there. Now these are special because of the length, because it's got the electric heater element there. So we might have a bit of trouble finding a new screw here. Could be in trouble. Well, luckily for me, I found a suitable 4BA screw. I think it was 4BA. It was in my 4BA 5BA box, so anyway, it was a suitable screw. Now I just had a closer look at the ball in here, and if I take you over to where the ball is, I'll put the ball that I took out. Now the ball was magnetic, luckily, and out it came, but there's no sign of the spring that's supposed to be taking you back. There's supposed to be a spring in there that keeps the ball under tension. Now, in order to get to that point, I took this choke lever off, which to be honest is very dirty, and we took the choke nut off, which is very dirty. Now let's just go and have a look at my donor carb. So here's the donor carb, and behind this lever with this nice nut is a nice ball bearing with a nice spring. So I'm going to take all that off and put it on my PA106, because these parts are interchangeable. I mean, the front of the starter isn't. And for example, these screws are different, very different length, because of the fact that there's a heater element on the 106, which makes them have to be longer. But these parts are interchangeable. Okay, here's the little spring. This one's from the donor carburettor. There's the ball from the donor carburettor, and there's the choke lever from the donor carburettor. So, having another look inside. My carb. Still, can't believe that there was no spring in there. Got some sort of air bubble. There might be something down there. I don't know. Maybe it's just a load of dirt now. I have to have a good look down there.